Gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Here too. I don't know why it's not working. There we go. And good morning, Bakersfield and surrounding communities and everybody now watching online on YouTube. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Top of the morning to you.
Let them know what they're in for.
We'll be talking some NFL in the first hour.
Finally, some good news, man.
Plenty to talk about. Some rules that are going to get voted on today and tomorrow. Some coaches, some players get some extensions getting paid. And then we'll get into the Monday Night Raw recap. KG will join us from Hits 93.1 at the top of the hour. And then we'll break down the Western Conference Finals that start up tonight, which you can hear right here on ESPN Bakersfield with the pregame beginning at 4:30, tip-off at 5. And then we have some miscellaneous news to wrap it up.
Can you believe that the Thunder are sitting at a 7.5-point favorite tonight? 7.5? That's disrespectful.
And you can always join in on the conversation by calling or texting in at 661-842-2000. And I do have a couple shirts, some early bird special shirts.
Ooh.
Hot off the press. So if you'd like to join in, maybe you can win a new early bird special shirt. But first off, in the NFL, let's start with Nick Sirianni.
You want to go with Sirianni since we don't even know exactly what the deal is about? But
well, he was on his final year of the contract after winning the Super Bowl, so it wasn't too surprised or shocking that the Eagles have agreed to a multi-year extension. But no info.
I mean, they had hinted that this was coming. Everybody knew Sirianni was going to stick around, even though, I mean, I guess you can say that they were shaky at points with the relationship. The fan base definitely was shaky with the coach, didn't like him very much, and he pretty much turned around, flipped him the bird, and said, watch me win, and went out and won.
Yeah, I mean, they were 1-6 collapse during the down the stretch in 2022 or 2023.
But let's not forget, they were riddled with injuries and stuff.
And they were off last year. They started off the season at 2-2. But then he turned it around.
I know a lot of teams that would have taken a 2-2 start last year.
I'm one of them.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be honest. Sirianni, I think the Pat McAfee show said it beautifully yesterday, is just a master of leading men. He genuinely is. He's a great coach, but he's an even better leader. And I think that is what makes Philly so dangerous, is that they have multiple people that are just heightened by his leadership, including guys like Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and Jalen Carter on the defensive side of the ball. I think that it's a great move for them. How long the deal is and how much money it is, we have no clue yet. I'm sure we'll learn here in the next week or so when Schefter gets the full details and lets us know immediately, as he always does.
I know after they started 2-2, I wasn't I mean, I'm not a big Eagles guy, so I don't follow the NFC too much, but I didn't know they went 16-1 after that.
They did 16-1, including the playoffs.
Lock that guy in.
You don't walk away from a coach like that. It's one thing to walk away from Doug Peterson after he won you a Super Bowl, but you moved on to this guy. And honestly, besides that shaky start of 3-8 technically through 2 seasons.
Yeah, going into last year or the year before.
Yeah, before his 16-1 run. I'm pretty sure that you'll take that.
I mean, overall, he's 48-20 with the Eagles and a winning percentage of 706, but
which also puts him in the top 5 winning percentages of coaches, by the way.
I was going to say he's the 3rd highest in Super Bowl era, and now he is 6-3 in the postseason and has guided the Eagles to 2 Super Bowl appearances. Obviously, the 1 loss and then the big win over Kansas City in February, but I mean, good for him.
I know a lot of Cowboy fans that were very, very angry yesterday when Sirianni got his deal, because I think a lot of Cowboy fans were hoping that relationship was not able to mend and that he would be moving on.
Of
But
course, Dallas fans, I mean, they are on my last nerve.
again, much like another fan base we're going to get to later today, if we ever talk about that video, because that was ridiculous, New York. But
Well, it's New
Dallas
York.
fans, there's a level of Delulu that comes with you. I understand, and I agree. I appreciate it to a point. I really, really do.
It's like every month, it's a different thing. One month it was Dion. They wanted Dion. Then they want Sirianni. And then, I mean, they have no love for their new coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't even coached a game yet.
And you know what's funny is we're not saying the media was saying Sirianni, and nobody in the media was saying, "Oh, Sirianni to Dallas." That's not what was happening at all. In fact, if Jerry pulled off that deal, you want to talk about a heist like that? That would have been incredible. Stealing probably the best coach of the in the NFL outside of Andy Reid away from your rival team. That would be incredible. However, I did know a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans that were coming up to me and say, it'd be interesting if Sirianni left Philly. It'd be very interesting to see where he would want to go after that.
Yeah, and especially if he would jump ship to a team like Dallas.
Right.
But nobody wants to be in Dallas as long as Jerry's there.
No. Well, actually, I don't know about that. Jerry doesn't have that much hate within the organizations, I think.
I mean, if
fan
unless he's
bases,
going to be
sure.
His boy, but I mean, the way he treated Jason Garrett over those last couple of years,
yeah.
I mean, it was kind of just.
And you know what's funny is
sad.
Jason Garrett's offense those final years with Tony Romo and stuff like that, and when they were spiraling down, you can't really blame him for any of it. Like he put him in.
I like Jason
positions,
Garrett,
but it is what it is.
Personally, I'm kind of nervous to see what he does in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got a clean slate, and now he has no quarterback.
Well, that entire offense in New Orleans is going to be interesting to look at because, like you said, no real quarterback. Tyler Shuck is probably your best option at the moment, unless you can somehow pull off a trade. And you're not pulling off a trade with Atlanta unless you're taking the entire contract. And, I mean, at that point, I'm okay with sending him to New Orleans. Take him. If you take the entire contract and Atlanta doesn't have to pay a dime, sure.
Take him.
Sure, take him. Like you know me. You've heard me talk about this. I am not okay, nor do I believe that NFL teams trade within divisions. They normally they don't. Very rarely will you ever see it like an Atlanta and Carolina trade.
So you bring that up. So it feels like there's always a team that your team is always trading or working deals with, whether it's a big trade or not.
They have great relationship with each other.
So it's like the Dolphins and Raiders are always, cutting players and picking up players or trading weird 6th or 7th round draft picks for no reason.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And I think it's because there's such good relationship between a lot of these guys. When they move from one organization to the other, they keep those relationships, obviously. Like, say your team pulled your last GM from the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're going to have an automatic in with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and trades are going to go easy.
It was like the Chiefs and Eagles, that nonsense of a trade at the end of the first round.
Yeah, or Buffalo and Kansas City the year before. Like, there's a couple situations where it's like, that was weird. Why are you trading with your rival? But then you realize that, oh yeah, I forgot their GM or assistant GM used to work
there. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So other news out of the NFL this morning: Bears extend All-Pro guard Joe Thuney with a 2-year extension worth $17.5 per year, with a $51 million 3-year deal with 33.5 guaranteed, which is a solid pickup.
Yeah,
I was surprised that he left.
Well, again, I think he was traded. I don't think he left.
I was surprised because that's one of those key core players that you thought would always be with Andy Reid in Kansas City. But I mean, the Bears are doing what they needed to do. I know we have a promo running right now that is talking more of what we got into yesterday with the Caleb and didn't want to be in Chicago and that type of thing. But I mean, the Bears are doing what they needed to do, which I was hoping that the freaking Dolphins would do, is build an offensive line,
right,
and see what this kid can do.
That's why I was saying on Friday when we talked about this, I didn't understand why Caleb and his father wouldn't want to go to Chicago. Now, granted, you can have your pre-existing ideas of what Chicago means to quarterbacks, but when you really boil it down, that team did everything possible to set your son up for success. They went out and got a for sure leader at wide receiver with Keenan Allen, who's a sure-handed wide receiver at that, and has led many rookie quarterbacks to success.
And now he's looking for a job.
Yeah, he is, unfortunately. You got him a top wide receiver in the rookie class that he came with as well, and Roma Dunze. The only thing that they didn't address was the offensive line, and they addressed that this year.
Yes.
So they clearly had a plan.
For a dad to go out and say, this is where quarterbacks go to die.
Exactly. That's ridiculous.
That's where you draw the line.
Now, again, if we're talking about like if Dion came out and said that about Shador's situation, I'd agree with him.
Yeah.
Because it's Cleveland. And let's be honest, Cleveland hasn't had a good quarterback since. Yeah. So, like,
yeah,
it's been where quarterbacks go to die lately. It really has. It's the quarterback graveyard, but that's not Chicago. So that's why I don't understand that.
And they got him a coach.
Yeah, and they got him a coach. And I agree with you. I know you brought that up as well on Friday, that Nagy probably should have been removed earlier.
A year
I do agree with that. But who's to say they weren't waiting for Ben Johnson?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think we are so used to just thinking of recency bias that, like, oh, all these people just react to what happened right now. No, a lot of these organizations have these plans for 5 to 10 years to rebuild. Most of them want it in 5.
Short term and long term.
Yeah, most of them want it in 5, but sometimes it takes a long-term situation. And you really don't think Chicago's been eyeing Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn, for that matter, who are in the division and would be great head coaches and have been targeted as head coach candidates for the last 3 years?
Well, to bounce off that, do you think the Ben Johnson to Chicago or Glenn to the Jets or even Dan Campbell, I mean, which one of those 3 do you think is going to have a better season this year? I mean, Ben Johnson's going in to a fresh start pretty much in Chicago with the young quarterback.
Right.
Dan is a hell of a coach, but he's losing so many different coaches and assistants. And then Glenn with the Jets going back to his old team and starting over with a new quarterback.
Right. My first instinct says Ben Johnson. I feel like Chicago is geared more for success, especially when you are, coming from the bottom of the barrel. It's easier to go up. Dan
Better
Campbell,
upside.
Dan Campbell is going to be number 2 on this list for me because I know how much he has changed that Detroit just chemistry and their entire demeanor in that locker room. So they're going to be successful regardless. But I've seen a couple in the last couple seasons, or I shouldn't say last couple seasons, but I've seen frequently in the last couple of years when you lose both of your coordinators, you're not going to be geared for success very well.
It's tough.
It's very, very hard. So I'm going to put him at number 2 and then probably Glenn at number 3. I still don't trust the Jets. I don't believe in the Jets. I don't think the Jets have done anything to really grow outside of maybe you found your quarterback, but you still haven't put an offensive line in front of him, much like Chicago didn't. And you're going to find out really quick that, sure, Justin can run, but running for your life doesn't win football games.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see the same Justin Fields we saw in Chicago.
Yeah.
On the better side, his better year, but I'm going to say, he's going to be running for his life. And yeah, he has a better wide receiver core.
But there's already reports that Garrett Wilson wants out.
There's
already reports that Sauce Gardner wants out.
They both want out.
Like, I don't believe the Jets are going to do.
And if they lose one of those,
yeah,
it's going to take a big impact on that team.
And honestly, I'm going to throw it out here. We haven't heard anything from the camp of Aaron Glenn about that story with Aaron Rodgers.
No,
not a single word. That makes me believe it was true. Which, if that's the case, I don't believe in you as a head coach.
No,
I'm sorry, I don't.
It's the Jets.
Yeah, so if I had to, like I said, first instinct, Ben Johnson for sure, the most successful to come out of the Detroit Wings. Dan second, and Glenn third.
I think that Dan and the Bears. I think the Ben Johnson and Campbell. I think they'll be real close. I hope they do play a couple times this year, right?
Yeah, no, it's Chicago and Detroit.
I forget that they're in the same division, but yeah, that'll be a good setup. I think the Lions will be the Lions, especially with Aiden coming back.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think that they should have addressed getting another edge, just because that would help that defense losing their coordinator.
Now, hold on there, Spark, because again, as I just said, there are long-term plans at play here. And let us not forget that there was one defensive end that they were very much eyeing last year. Didn't get a deal for.
It's a free agent?
I don't know if he's a free agent, but I know dang well the team he plays for isn't exactly on the up, like the way up.
Who?
Max Crosby.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to talk about the other dude.
Oh, no. We're talking Raiders here.
Ugh.
Raiders aren't exactly doing anything to improve. And if that is the case, I do not exactly believe Max Crosby is going to be there for a long time.
And news that Wilkins might be out most of the season already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And
that's a big hit.
Max obviously took that job with Eastern Michigan as well. Maybe that's going to push him back into the Detroit area.
Yeah, he
Just
wants to go
saying.
back home. If he goes anywhere, that's where he'd go.
I'd believe it.
Well, let's take a break. We'll talk about some other NFL news before we get into the rules that will be voted on in the next day or so. Right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
Wake up. Big shout out to my boy Sammy and his son Gabe, which is you remember that name. Gabe is gonna be a badass tennis player here in town. Give him a year or so. This kid has the mental as a pro, man. I've got to play some football with him last week, and he was already schooling me on tennis. And I was like, I've only played a couple times. Now he's made me nervous. He wants to square up against me in some tennis.
Yeah,
I was like, no.
I'm telling you right now, don't embarrass yourself like that. Tennis is not a game that you just pick up. I know everybody believes it is. It
Well,
is not.
if you have it, you have it.
Yes, you do, and that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. But don't
I
keep
don't
everybody
have
in
it.
suspense. What high school are we talking about here?
I'm not sure yet.
Oh, he doesn't know what high school he's going to yet.
I'm sure he does. I don't.
Okay.
That'd be a Sammy. That's a.
Oh yeah, we can't hear just Sammy.
parent.
We got to know what high school we're looking at
We'll
here.
know. Well, you'll hear about him.
Yeah, you hear about it
I'm
on the
sure
Greg Kerr
about
show.
it.
I'm sure.
And you'll be on seeing him on Hometown Sports here in a couple years.
You would hope so.
But the 49ers locked in another core piece of their team. This time on the defensive side, Fred Warner reaching a 3-year, $63 million extension. And not only has the Frisco locked in Purdy, which is overpaid, George Kittle, and now Fred Warner, which is going to be I believe they reworked his deal. So now he'll get close to, I believe, 21 million per season.
Yeah, something like that. It puts him over Raekwon Smith's number as well for the most of any linebacker, interior linebacker. Again, well-deserved in my opinion. He's easily one of the best linebackers in the league, if not the best middle linebacker in the league, especially when it comes to pass coverage. But when you saw how he played last year with the injuries and how he fought through and still played, I think, the entire season, even though he was on a bum ankle, respect, man. Absolute respect to him, and he deserves all the money that he's getting from this team. And like the Niners have come out and said, it's all about more reworking the deals and figuring out how you can make it work long term, I guess, because when you pay a lot of these guys the money that you are paying them, obviously you didn't have to necessarily break banks and historically with Brock Purdy's deal, but it still, as we said yesterday, vastly overpaid.
Yes.
But this one, I think, is adequately paid. I genuinely believe Fred Warner deserves the money that you're giving him.
And a big shout out to our friend Olivia Willis, who is doing our Gear Up for Greatness. She's a local high school student over at Centennial, and she's raising up not only money, but she's taking football gear that will go to high school players that can't afford their own football gear. So look up Gear Up for Greatness on Instagram, Facebook, and see how you can help out. I'm hoping to get her back on before the upcoming Christian McCaffrey camp that is coming up over at BHS. But keeping it in San Francisco, tight end Brent Jones will become the 33rd member of the 49ers Hall of Fame, which seems a bit long. I mean, it's a long wait. I mean, this guy...
I'm more surprised there's only 33 members.
Yeah, and I was trying to find the list, but he played for the 49ers from 1987 to 1997, appearing in 143 games. I mean, everyone knows him for the catch, but I mean, he was a hell of a 49. I mean, if you go through, I'm sure I can list at least a handful of 49ers that should or probably are on that list. You know, Montana's on there.
Oh, of course.
You know, Rice is up there.
Yeah.
What else?
I would think Frank Gore probably, if he's not on there, would be on his way there. Same with Patrick Willis.
Dwight Clark,
yeah. Again, there's a list of them. I'm not a Niner fan. So
yeah, no. I'll have to look up that list.
Do you think T.O.'s in there?
I mean, he had his...
I don't think...
You think he had his better years in Frisco or Dallas?
Dallas.
Yeah?
I think he's more known for his time in Dallas. Actually, I think he's more known for his time in Philly, to be honest with you, than he would be with the Niners. Although, you know, Niner fans are probably screaming at me right now. When I think T.O., I think Dallas. I don't think Niners.
Steve Young, Ronnie Lott, Charles Haley. I forgot all about those guys. I mean, I should slap myself for not knowing Ronnie Lott.
I am just shocked that there's 33 members only. I thought for sure that with knowing the Niners and their long history.
Frank Gore, Patrick Willis.
Are they in there?
A lot of them, yeah. A lot of them are the older players that I wouldn't recognize. Joe Perry.
Vernon Davis, maybe? The tight end? Nope.
Bob St. Clair.
I would assume that a lot of these guys probably will get in over the next couple years too, because I mean, again, the long history of success, the long history of just great players that have played with the 49ers throughout the years, it again, more surprises me there's only 33 members in that list. That's pretty crazy. But
keeping it in the NFL, Shedeur got paid.
Well,
not nearly as what he probably would have got in college.
4 years, $4.3 million. This is a great deal for the Cleveland Browns because you're inking a guy that's probably going to be your starter for a good 2 to 3 years at least before you have to pay him real money. Only problem is that now if he comes out and balls out, especially in his first 2 years, you're breaking the bank for Shedeur. It's just going to happen. We're going to see probably the biggest. No, I'm sorry. That would be Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's raise is probably the biggest and one of the biggest in NFL history, at least in the last couple of years. But it is beneficial, though, I feel, for Cleveland, and this is why. Just as we talked about yesterday, you want to make the most out of these rookie contract deals. And if you can make the most out of Shador's first 4 years in the league, maybe make a playoff run, you
Are
could
we
be
talking
sitting
about the
pretty
same
happy.
team?
I'm just saying, like, one good quarterback has turned around franchises quick.
And they have talent there. I mean, losing Chubb, I know they drafted a couple running backs.
Yeah, and I
drafted a couple quarterbacks.
I don't believe Chubb will be returning to the team either, from what it sounds like.
No.
But it just, I've been shocked before. That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to keep an eye out because I want to see where Chubb goes. I think he still has a couple good years out of him.
Chicago. I'm telling you, him and DeAndre Swift next to each other would be a tandem for the future. It'd be incredible to watch.
Do you think Flacco ends up getting dropped?
No, I think it's going to be Kenny Pickett. I genuinely believe it's going to be Kenny Pickett, especially after picking up Dylan Gabriel as well. I think that their plan in Cleveland is to keep Flacco as the starter for the first 4-5 weeks. Maybe find out, make a pseudo challenge between Dylan Gabriel and Shador for as long as he can. Shador is most likely going to win the job.
You think he leapfrogs him?
Yeah. And honestly, the only one that I can think of that obviously you have to deal with now is Deshaun. I have no idea what you're going to do with the whole Deshaun Watson contract. If you're going to be able to, if you're just going to have to eat it, or if you're just going to be able to somehow maneuver it away or make the money shift around. I don't know what you do with it.
They're trying to find a way to use the injury with opt-out.
Right, because if you self-injure yourself off the field, there are clauses within your contract that void them out.
And that's the best chance for Cleveland to even get out of this
but here's
circus.
Here's the problem, though. I don't know if Cleveland was smart enough to actually put that clause in the contract.
Put it in the contract?
I'm sorry. I don't believe the Cleveland Browns organization has really been smart enough to do that. But again, this is the team that we're talking about a little bit ago that is the place that quarterbacks actually go to die. Yeah, so
them in the Jets.
And that's why I'm just shocked. I don't understand, but it is what it is.
We had a listener say, it is the Jets that we're talking about.
Right? I know. And again, the Jets, and there's only
just
one
in the season.
Yeah.
Jets.
Oh my God,
Jets.
I've never heard that.
As
that's
a Dolphin
great.
fan, that's we've called that for just 20 years. Just awesome. In the season. Jets.
That's hilarious. I've never heard that before. But yeah, no, when we're talking about the Browns Jets, it's hard to understand if they're ever, or really it's hard to fathom them ever being successful again. But we're in the same spot. We're in, I don't know, for the last decade and a half. Hopefully Shador can turn that around. But I think you're sitting in a good situation right now after having to pay Deshaun Watson ridiculous amounts of money just to sit on the bench or get hurt. Now you got a guy in Shador Sanders, 4 years, $4 million. You can actually move the money around, get some pieces around him. I just think they're in a better spot. So it's at least a step forward for the Browns in that area.
I mean, for example, what if Gabriel comes out slinging it and surprises everybody? That we've seen crazier things. I mean, Mr. Irrelevant just got paid. No one expected that when he was the last pick in the NFL draft, but hey.
Oh, I'm sorry. You talking to me?
You never know.
Talking about Dylan Gabriel? I'm sorry.
You never know.
No, if this ends up being a Kirk Cousins RG3 situation, I will eat my words. But
I forgot to bring that up. But RG3 posted something over the weekend saying that he's pushing for a comeback. Exactly. Silence. They showed a workout video and said, "Hey, I can come back anytime."
Yeah, I'm sure you can, Robert. So can Colin.
But he was healthy. He didn't have a great career.
Okay. He had a fantastic college career. I was really hoping that he was going to have a fantastic NFL career, but unfortunately, what happened in Washington happened in Washington, and they ruined his career. Genuinely, I put all fault on the head coaching staff, or I'm sorry, the coaching staff and the front office of Washington for what happened to RG3. But
set him up,
buddy. You're a better commentator. Let's stay in analytics. Honestly,
did you want to bring up anything else before we take a break?
Yeah. You know what? Let's talk about this real quick. Derrick Henry. He has signed his contract last week. We mentioned it a little bit in brief talks, but they have now come and actually talked to him about it and what that means for the rest of his career. Let's not forget that Derrick is 31 years old. He, at the end of this extension that he just signed with the Ravens, he will be 33. And the questions are obviously if he's going to be staying around long enough after that, if this is going to be his final contract, is he going to leave Baltimore, if anything? I like his answer. All he said was, I'm focusing on football, as he should. But what do you think? Do you think this is Derek's last ride with the Ravens before he says goodbye to football?
Oh, man. I mean, he looked good last year. And I mean, if he can do that for a couple more years, the guy takes care of his body better than anyone I know. And I think it'll really depend on what Baltimore looks like the next few seasons with
Mhm.
him. I mean, he seems like a nostalgia type player where maybe he comes back and plays one final year with Tennessee.
Mhm.
I mean, how cool would that be to team him up with, let Cam get a couple years under his belt and play a final year with him? But no, it's probably with running backs and how much they put on themselves. I wouldn't be surprised. Or maybe he does a 1-year deal and returns. But I mean, if the Ravens, are this close to the Super Bowl the next 2 years, I mean, it'll be hard for an athlete like him to just walk away.
Mm. If he doesn't retire after this extension, I don't think he leaves Baltimore, especially if Baltimore wants to keep him. Because, like you said, 19,000 yards last year. I mean, I'm sorry, 1,900
I was
yards.
like,
I
damn,
apologize. 1,900 yards.
that's some records.
Sorry. Yeah, 1,900 yards, which is actually still broken a record, though. It's the
Yeah.
highest that anybody over 30 has ever been able to rush in the NFL. It is good to see that he's still at that level, but it's really going to depend on how this, I agree with you. It depends on how really this next year goes, even the year after it is what it is. But I think it's this upcoming year that's going to be the factor if he decides to wane on his retirement. I think we've seen a long list of players that want to retire early to preserve their bodies, Derek Carr being one of them,
Mhm.
obviously. But the running back position, as you just stated, has really shifted a lot in the last couple of years, including just how important it is in the NFL. And it's really starting to shift back to being one of the more important positions in the league. I don't think he leaves just because of that. I think that he has established himself as probably one of the most important running backs in the league, if not the most important for his team. And but I just the years coming up are going to be a real big factor because I know he's had knee injuries. He's a bigger guy too, so that has to weigh down on him. And your speed doesn't come to you with age. So if he loses that breakaway ability, if he loses that power, I would expect him probably to retire at 33,
I mean, I would
34.
hope that him as a player that he doesn't tarnish
Mhm.
his career of just coming back and doing a third round or
Right.
third down type back where he's not the starter, he's not the bulk carrier. So I mean, I'd probably agree with you. It probably depends on what the next 2 years look like on him
Mhm.
and the Ravens.
See, a player that kind of gives me hope that we see Derrick Henry for a good long while is Frank Gore.
Yeah.
Frank Gore, who was I mean, he wasn't a bigger guy, but he was a bully. He was a guy who would run over you just like Derek does. And he got a lot of yards because of it. And he played a very, very long time for the 49ers. And that kind of makes me believe, okay, maybe
And
we
the
can have
Dolphins.
that. And the Dolphins. I forget. Yeah, he had a tenure with the Dolphins. But it makes me believe that we could see a couple more years with Derek. I don't see him going back to Tennessee, though, because why would you leave a legendary quarterback in Lamar Jackson to go play with a kid who might be there? You know what I mean?
I mean, he was the Titans for many years. So I
I
mean,
know, but like, I'd let your years with the Titans just let it
let it
lie,
go.
let it go. It's already over, dude. You have tail of two careers at this point. You had your Titans years and you have your Ravens years.
Yeah. I can see both sides, but if he doesn't get a ring in Baltimore, I mean, it was all for
I'd be
nothing.
you can record this and put it up if you want, but I'd be shocked if Baltimore doesn't win a Super Bowl in the next 2
I'm
years.
surprised they don't have one now.
I know.
I
That's
mean,
why I'm saying,
they
like,
should have
I'd
had
be
it.
shocked if the Baltimore Ravens don't make it to the Super Bowl and win in the next 2 to 3 years.
Well, we'll take a break and we'll get into these rules that the NFL is voting on as we speak on a couple of them. And I know the tush push one is tomorrow, but we'll get into that. If you have any comments on, do you think the tush push or even the playoff seeding should pass or not pass, text in 661-842-2000 right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 1230 a.m.
101.1 FM. Okay, now this is out of left field. Although I love Frank.
Football music.
I know you do, but dang. All right. Again, not complaining. Let me
That's some other curveballs for you later today,
Okay,
but
cool.
we'll see.
Why do I feel like there's a jab in there somewhere? Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. We got plenty of NFL rules to talk about that are going to be voted on by the owners here the next 2 days. Most of them the ones that were shelved during the owners' meetings back in Florida. I don't know exactly where we want to start here, though, because I know the tush push is the one that everyone has been talking about. That one you will not get an answer to probably until tomorrow, unfortunately. However, today they'll be voting on something I think is kind of interesting because we're bringing flag football to the Olympics
2028.
2028 in LA. So, one of the big question marks has been, are we going to pull the best of the best, which you would assume would come from the NFL? Honestly, there's actually flag football leagues out there that, former collegiate tackle football players play in, men and women. It's a whole league. Our American team has won the championship 5 years in a row for the men's side. I think it's 3 years in a row for the women. We are absolute dominant in this sport. So do we need NFL players on the team? Probably not.
So all these rules need 24 votes or more to
Yes.
pass. So there's 4 of them that we're going to talk about. The first one will be the flag football, and out of the rumor mill it is expected to pass.
That's what I keep hearing.
So there is little limitations that they're bringing up in this proposal, and that one would restrict participations to move only one player from each NFL team.
Well, that doesn't count for,
but it doesn't count for international players.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I was like, because international players obviously would also need to be allowed to go play for their nations if they made a team.
They chose, yeah.
So
I mean, you won't get like the Tua and Tyreek or
no,
the tandems, but you might see Mahomes and Tyreek.
Unless Tyreek decided to get traded. I'm just saying.
I don't think it's his decision.
I don't think you guys would send Tua anyway. He'd probably come back with a concussion.
Hey.
I'm just saying.
But this will include, there is also some provisions that the NFL put into this resolution, and it's pretty much is in their contracts. If they choose to play, that there'll be an injury protection under the salary cap,
much needed
for any player that is injured during the Olympics.
Absolutely.
So that will, save, players or teams that have big name players that are playing in this flag football. But I mean, do you think that it is? I mean, it's all about money when it comes to the NFL.
Absolutely.
So of course that would make the viewership probably higher.
Yeah, 100%. If you knew who the players were that were playing on the team, I would assume that
nobody watches that in the Pro Bowl, but
well, that's also true. That's a very good point, actually. But that's the point I'm trying to think and wrap around my head myself, because they have announced the teams that will be like competing for the chance to be on the team, or the players that will be competing to be on the team outside of the NFL. And again, these are the best of the best that are in these leagues that I mentioned earlier. I think it's like IFAF or something like that. I'm really trying to think, though, do we need to send the best of your team? And I don't think they're going to. Like, this will get passed. Don't get me wrong. 24 owners will most likely vote yes on this because, like you said, Sparky, great exposure, great chance to, imagine saying that you have 32 players in the NFL that are gold medalists. You know what I mean? Like, it just brings allure to your sport. I mean, the WWE has leaned on it a couple times when it comes to wrestling. It really does add people or add eyes to your product. So it's only a good thing. However, I don't think teams are going to vote to send your Tyreek Hills or your Tuas or anything like that, because one, you're going to be in the heat of a lot of the buildup of what you need for the next season, and you need your star guys there. Two, I don't think you need to send the best of the best, because I don't think the best of the best need to be present in order for you to win a gold. I really don't. I think this is an American sport. I don't think there's a lot of countries that could play football the way we play football, or at least American football, I should say, because obviously there's soccer. But I just don't think we need to be sending the guys like that. I think it's a cool thing to see. Like I know Tyreek would love to go,
Yeah, he's brought it up.
and honestly,
Mahomes has brought it up.
he would probably be the only one I would allow to go because you could be a gold medalist in multiple sports, if I'm being honest here. Because you put that man on a track and he would definitely at least compete. I don't know if he would beat somebody at a Ghana, but he would definitely compete.
I know he's brought that up too.
Absolutely. But that's kind of where I would draw the line. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't send Patrick. I wouldn't send, I don't know, if you're Atlanta, I wouldn't send Bijan. You know what I mean? Because although it's not tackle football, let's not forget that the worst injuries in football are non-contact injuries. Your ACLs, your MCLs, your Achilles tendons, all of those, which are very much in jeopardy if you play this. So I wouldn't necessarily see it as a positive thing to send your superstars to the Olympics. It's just me though.
No, and how, I mean, I know it'll conflict with camp.
Yeah, that's what I meant by
they're
like
talking about that.
It's during the buildup of your season. You
Mhm.
need your stars there. You need them all to be in the same, on the same page, chemistry wise. So I wouldn't send your superstars during this.
I mean, luckily the 2028 Olympics are in Los Angeles,
right?
So if it'll help out some of the teams that are close to California or play in California.
How do you feel about the one player per team thing though? Like I like that idea. I think that's a good way to do it.
I think it's an easy way to get it passed, but just depends on what is the one player in some of these coaches or GM's mind,
right?
Because I know Mahomes and Tyreek have brought up wanting to play. I mean, if you're Andy Reid, are you wanting
Well,
Mahomes?
and then are you also like conversing with the rest of the league because you all can't send a wide receiver? You know what I mean? Like not everybody can send the same players. Otherwise, we're just going to have 50 wide receivers.
And I haven't looked in deep enough to know what a roster looks like on a flag football team in the Olympics. I mean, is it the 8-player 8-on-8?
Do they have linemen?
Do they have linemen? I know they have a center.
Well, yeah, you need a center to hike.
I mean, how deep is this, or how competitive is this flag football going to be? You know what I mean? But I think it's good for the sport. It's good for the Olympics. I just I don't know how much of our span will watch flag football.
I mean, again, I think because it's part of the Olympics and it's the first year that it will be a part of the Olympics that you're going to get a good viewership on it. I don't know if it survives for the
after that.
32, probably not, but because we're in America, we need to put our stamp on it somehow. And what better way to do that than with American football?
And what are the rules with college or retired players? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if there's some retired players that want to play, or college athletes that want to play. I mean, there's got to be some rules into that as well.
I would love to see Arch Manning as the quarterback.
Right?
That would actually be pretty cool.
Or just see some, upcoming, I saw him in the flag football, and does that hurt his stock?
Nico Iamaleava makes himself a little more known as a Olympic gold medalist.
Clean his name up, but
maybe he'll get the money after that.
Oh, another rule that the NFL is considering is making onside kicks more recoverable, which this is a recent rule change that was made for onside kicks that make it really, really difficult if you've watched. But a new rule would kind of restrict how receiving teams can line up. So they keep messing with the kickoff rule. And the one thing that I was hoping is, I like the old school onside kick. Obviously, they're going to make it safer because they don't want high-speed players running into each other, or that collision that they pulled away from the kickoff, which I liked the kickoff rule last year. But I think the one thing that needs to be tweaked is the onside kick. And what this looks like is they'll only have 3 players that will be able to line up in a setup zone for the receiving team, and they'll be just like the kickoff, how they have like the safety zone where the 1 or 2 players, the returners, can line up. So what they're looking at is the receiving team would be limited to a maximum of 3 players in the setup zone, not on the line, but never more than 1 player in each of the 3 areas inside the setup zone. So, I mean, they're looking at changing it where it's more recoverable, but also keep it safe. So the NFL said they will not return to the older, more successful onside kick rule that they changed, I believe, after 2005 or 2006.
Mhm.
But one thing that they added to the proposal is they're considering allowing teams to attempt the onside kick at any point of the game. So it won't be just a fourth quarter or overtime thing.
Yeah, they need to fix that. That was my one gripe against it, is you can't take it out of the game. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. You have to allow them to at least be able to do it whenever they want, because that's the whole point of the onside kick, right? Is to be sneaky and to get the ball back. But I like this rule. I like the fact that you're going to, like I said, give it more of an opportunity to be fielded, because I think that just brings a more, I guess, exciting factor to the onside kick, because if you know that there's more chance for the other team to actually pick it up, more likely it's going to actually happen, especially with these new kickoff rules where you have to kick it in certain areas. And if your kicker is having a bad day, or if he can't keep it in the ends, like within that end zone line, it's going to be really hard for you to play defense against it. So I would expect them to actually pass this one.
Well, that's why they had to revise it, because the original one that they tabled was you could only do it in the fourth quarter, and it would
Right.
have to be a special package that you had to tell the other team.
Yeah.
And it kind of just made a more of a headache than something that they would move. So
Right.
it's going to be a setup thing where they can do it at any time.
Right.
So if you catch a team, only have two players in that zone, maybe you kick it onside real quick. But I think that'll add to the NFL, and I think they'll make it another section of the game that makes it exciting.
I would hope so, but again, this was one of the biggest gripes against the kickoff rule last year. I, like you, I love the kickoff rule. I think it's sick. I think it's great. I shouldn't say sick. I don't know why that came out of my mouth like that. I apologize. My millennial brain kind of slipped on me for a second there. No, I think that the new kickoff rule is genuinely going to give or bring more kickoffs to the league. And I think that we're going to be at the point where it's going to be like about 70% kickoff returned, because these kickers are more skilled than you would think. They're much better at actually just pinpointing their kicks. Okay, seriously, guys, you're killing me. I'm being dead serious.
The other rule,
this caused me to mess up last week. You can't.
The other
do
rule
that to
is
me right
the Lions NFL playoff seeding, which the Lions have resubmitted this proposal to seed all 7 playoff teams that get into the playoffs, but based on the record, eliminating the automatic home if you win a division.
Right.
So I don't think it'll get passed, even with the changes.
You don't think this is going to get passed?
But I'm going to throw in Mark Zeno and what you think about after you hear this.
Gotcha.
There's only one circumstance which this is okay. The only circumstance is then you balance the schedule. You play every other team in the conference. So 15-year games are against every single team in the NFC. If you're an NFC team with 2 AFC games that are on a rotating basis from each division, and that's it. Get rid of division games. Get rid of the division games. Get rid of divisions. They don't matter.
I mean, no, because that's not necessarily the truth. I like the way this formats, because the divisions still do matter. You winning your division still gets you in the playoffs. That's not what they're saying.
Yeah, just a different seeding.
Yeah, it just doesn't give you a home game. And honestly, in certain situations, I think that's fair. Because when you have like last year, when 3 of the NFC North teams were just destroying everybody, but they didn't get home field advantage during the playoffs, it seems kind of ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, we saw that with the Seahawks a couple of years ago. That
had
an under 500 record and then got a home game.
And this is coming from an Atlanta Falcons fan who benefited from this last year. I mean, well, we didn't benefit from it, but the NFC South benefited from it and still got a home game. I don't think that should be the case. I think you need to be successful in the regular season to have a home field advantage in the postseason.
And then the big tush push. So the Packers have resubmitted a revised proposal, and it's more of not calling it the tush push, first of all, but this would revert
brotherly
to
shove.
It'll revert the rule into what pre-2005 rules, when you can't pull or push a ball carrier.
Yeah.
So
again, basically it's the college rule.
Yep.
We're going back to the college rule. And this is essentially what we were talking about. And I understand why they're complaining about it. They're claiming that the health issues and stuff, the safety of the players. I just still think it's kind of funny that it's coming from the team that did it the second most in the NFL.
Yep. And
which
this is
the
what
Packers.
this is what Bart Scott had to say about the tush push.
If it's supposed to be about a mano, you talk about getting, we go back to the longest yard. I fight for that inch. I claw with my fingernails. That's not fair. Like, why shouldn't I be able to push from the other side as a linebacker? If you can push your guy, let me push my guy. If we want to really make it about who's tougher and who's stronger, this just becomes a math equation, an example of physics. So, I mean, if you can push and I can't push, then you should win every time.
100%.
I agree
And that's
with him.
what we've been pushing is if they don't ban it,
Yeah.
they have to allow the defensive players to do the same thing.
Oh, I agree with you. And again, that's essentially where we've been since we've been talking about this topic. I know that the Eagles have been going around calling teams trying to, pull people into the voting against this. Frankie Louvu has been very vocal, the Commanders' outside linebacker, about wanting this to be banned for obvious reasons. He was the one that was trying to jump over the offensive line to stop it during
I give
the
him props for
championship
that, too.
game.
I was like, hopefully he gets it.
See, but that's my point. I think that's what we're both trying to get at here is allow that for referees to sit there and say, well, we're just going to award them the touchdown. That's ridiculous. You can't allow that. But Frankie Louvu being able to jump over the offensive line and potentially get the play and stop it, I think that should be fair.
Yeah, that was his only shot.
Yeah, that's
stopping it.
literally the only thing I can think of to stop a rugby scrum. Jump over the top.
Well, then you complain, oh, they're just complaining because they can't stop it. I
And-
mean, there's rules against him being able to stop it.
Exactly. And Louvu made a really good point too before we get out of here that this is a rugby scrum and football has their versions of rugby scrums. It's called a cadence, getting him to jump off sides. That's the whole point of it, right? So maybe you just kind of lean on that, on the argument against it rather than the safety aspect, because there's literally no data proving that it hurts anybody. So, but we got to take a break, pay some bills. On the other side, we got to get into some WWE as we got Saturday night's main event this weekend. You're listening to the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield, and we're also streaming video live on YouTube. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special Hour 2. And you know what that means on a Tuesday. Our boy 24KG is here.
Yeet! How you guys doing this morning?
This is the good version. Okay, we got the old version. We didn't get humble, which is actually kind of better.
No, they're both horrible.
The humble. Well, actually, this one's not terrible. Like I'm not against this one, but Logan Paul's new theme, the humble song, is just ridiculous.
It fits them, but I like the Maverick previously.
Yeah,
that one really good. Hey, guys, guess what? We've got the Early Bird Special shirts available right now for you guys.
Well, not available.
I just got mine exclusively.
I understand.
We've got a couple.
We've got a
to some
couple
listeners.
available.
They're quite hot in the streets, as the kids would say.
Yes,
All
they're
right.
limited.
They're
As-
very
as the-
limited at the moment.
As the
Limited
limited
edition.
ones came out. But I'm working on some purple ones and some blue ones that will be hopefully done here in a couple weeks.
I hope.
Thank
I
you.
need the purple one.
Thank you, fellas.
I need
Thank
the
you.
purple one. I got one.
For Judgment Day when they come to town.
Well, of course, but I got one promised to somebody that it needs to be purple. Apparently,
All
as
right.
that is what I've been told.
Could
So,
it be
Cool.
Roxanne Perez?
again,
Wolfpack.
Potentially new member of the Judgment Day?
no. See,
Yeah.
we can get into that right now too.
that was
because-
hilarious, by the
yes.
way.
And she brought the tendies.
Did
and-
you see what Dom posted afterwards?
No.
The song he posted,
Oh,
I'm
Lord.
Not Coming Back. That country song between Finn's face and his face. That was great television last night. Let's kick it
No,
off, gentlemen. Go ahead, Chris.
Absolutely. So actually, before we get into last night, I have to do some self-indulgent stuff. Did either of you watch the finale of LFG on Sunday?
Not yet.
I
No.
caught the highlights, and I'm gonna keep it real. Great show. I have no problems with the show at all. But the titles, how they're awarded.
I
Yeah.
didn't watch it yet.
Okay,
There-
Is it good?
it's very good.
it's
The
good.
finale
Great
is very
television.
well done.
I'm caught up, but not to that one yet.
I'm not excited about who was chosen. I'll leave it at that. Just not to
we're not
ruin it
going to
for
drop
you.
any spoilers, but I remember a day when WWE had unique looking titles. Now everything's the corporate logo with just a affiliation or brand extension stamp onto it, unlike it being originally crafted, something like the NXT title. You know, I was expecting something different, and that's my own fault because expectations
But-
usually lead you down.
I'm
the
pretty
wrong
sure
road.
they showed the title at the very beginning of the show.
Well,
Did they get into the NXT Battle Royale yet?
Yeah, no, that happened a couple weeks ago.
Who won that?
That ended up being
Miles
Miles Bourne, who is
Okay.
going to be going up. Or do they have a PLE this weekend or is it next weekend?
I think it's next weekend. Don't quote me on that. But Miles Bourne, the AKA heir apparent to Randy Orton, is on
Def-
fire right now.
Deaf superstar too.
Which is insanely dope and crazy because I'm not sure how it works as far as communication. If he reads lips, I'm going to do some research into that.
he has to.
If he has somewhat of an audio ability, can he hear partially? Maybe. Don't know that yet, but we'll report back on that.
I'm pretty sure there are surgeries that you can get that essentially allow you to hear certain sounds.
But he is the first legitimately deaf and ASL superstar that is doing quite well on the roster. And that's something, when you think about it, you shouldn't be so amazed by, but we are, because there are wrestlers with communication barriers from
Oh, yeah.
different countries that they can't understand each other.
This
But-
is just another one of those.
Yes, but can you imagine being deaf and in an arena full of 3 to 4, 5, even 10,000 people at a
Mhm.
time and having to communicate with the person you're doing this with at such a high caliber level? The athleticism and just the chemistry that you have to have for that with somebody is amazing. And on top of being hearing impaired, I take my hat off to the man. And that's
Oh
a
yeah.
sensational thing right there. You guys couldn't see it, but I flicked the hat, Bill, and that's what we do. So let's get in the raw, man. Some talking
Absolutely.
points that you got.
So let's start actually with Roxanne Perez being lingered into the Judgment Day, or at least somewhat brought in.
I think more so brought in as a talking point to distract Dominic Mysterio from Liv. As you see, Finn is the devil incarnate.
The internet is already running with this.
My
and-
boy Finn Balor, Finny B over there.
So basically, for a little bit of background for people who are not following, the Judgment Day, which is a group of Dominic Mysterio, the son of longtime luchador Rey Mysterio, along with his little band of hoodlums with his
thugs.
girlfriend, Liv Morgan, who is away at the moment shooting a movie.
And she's supposed to be back next week.
Supposedly. But Finn Balor, the pseudo leader, I guess, of the group, longtime wrestler and just legend of the entire thing, or of the entire industry, is being built up to break away from the group here in the WWE, and has, in my opinion, planted the seeds of what will essentially be the breakup of the entire group in general.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm now sensing the internet wants Dom to go through another cheating arc, as he did a couple months ago with Rhea Ripley, and essentially move over to the next prodigy, which is Roxanne Perez, the girl who just signed with the main roster literally yesterday.
Well, unfortunately, some of the best groups in the history of entertainment have disintegrated due to a woman's interjection. And that's just due to storyline basis. Hey, it happened to the Five Heartbeats. It happened to the Beatles. And it looks like it's happening to the Judgment Day, folks.
But see, are we ready to have Liv go through that depressed arc in her career? Because that's where it's headed.
It's gonna be great feedback for audiences that don't like her. And essentially the storyline possibilities of Dominic doing what he essentially did to Rhea Ripley to Liv is a pattern of behavior that these type of male characters have when being just a little too, as they say, masculinely toxic
now
these days.
My theory, or at least what I am believing is going to come from this, is although we will get a breakup of the Judgment Day, I think we're going to get a forming of the Bullet Club.
You got to tell me, what the hell is that?
Okay, Bullet Club is basically, you could say, the offspring of the NWO. Not literally, but in a sense of how they were formed, faction-wise, attitude-wise. Finn Balor and the GODs and a couple of other superstars in New Japan about 10 years ago?
Yeah, maybe even more
15,
than that.
maybe 10, 15 years ago, started this Gaijin club of foreigners that were coming in and just wrecking shop. AJ Styles usurped Finn Balor as leader of that group originally. And now all the iterations and incarnations that we have scattered throughout the industry are because of these 5 main individuals.
And who is?
That would be Finn Balor, AJ Styles, the Gorillas of Destiny, who we know as the Tongans.
Okay.
And there's one more guy who was like their heavy, their muscle.
Okay.
He's not with the company, though.
No, he's not with New Japan or anybody right now. I believe he's retired. But it was quite the impressionable faction. So to get their hands on that copyright would be awesome for WWE. And I think that what we're going to get is another iteration of the club. Not to say that because they don't own the rights or they can't acquire the rights to Bullet Club, but there's so many different versions. You got the Gun Club, the Young Guns, Bang Bang Gang, and AEW.
Well, there's a couple in New Japan right now, too, that are like the War Dogs or something like that. And there's a whole faction like split into 4 or 5 different companies.
It's insane. The tree of the Bullet Club is very long in wrestling as far as how that branch stretches out.
Well, not even just
all the federations,
not even just the group, but the logo itself has gone past wrestling, because most people that I've seen wear a Bullet Club shirt have no idea what it is.
What they're
they
wearing.
Just picked
Did
it up.
you get that at the ammo auction?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
It would just be cool to, because I've heard a lot
stores.
about this Bullet Club. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Finn separate, just as a wrestler. So, I mean, I've been waiting for a while for them to break off.
Kind of what I think is coming, though, is that we're going to get Roxanne as the one to jam the wedge between Dom and Liv, with Finn stirring everything in his pocket, while at the same time he's pulling away JD and everybody he wants out of that group to go join the Bullet Club, including Roxanne, while leaving Dom alone and Liv and Raquel all breaking apart.
Did
That'd be
you
awesome.
see the size of those tendies?
They
Those
were
things are
just-
more like patties.
Yeah.
Okay. Like in a donut box, nonetheless, laid out all symmetrically.
Homie, have
perfect.
you never had Tyson chicken nuggets before?
Those were way bigger then I
don't know about that. Those look like generic Tyson chicken.
They
they
could have
look
been
like
arena. They could have been arena nuggets.
They could have been
look
arena
like
nuggies.
the new strips at McDonald's.
Hey,
Fantastic.
which
name,
are pretty good.
That name is crazy.
It really is.
Okay, you guys gotta let me know how those are. I was like, what is the what? The
But,
dipping in the what and the stripping in the what?
Other raw. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to talk McDonald's, the Minecraft hot sauce took me. I thought, oh, it's
There's
a
a
hot
Minecraft
sauce.
Chicken
hot
jockey?
sauce?
They did.
It
They
hit you-
had.
chicken jockey. It hit you like that.
Oh yeah, that hot sauce was super hot.
Lava
man.
chicken.
And I was like, oh, it's not gonna be that hot. It's McDonald's. They're not gonna
Yeah.
serve hot sauce to kids. And sure enough, that I love hot sauce. So I mean, I was going in there, okay.
I'm a hot sauce connoisseur.
So I mean, I've done the hot ones challenge a few different times, and this one should be up there.
They put a couple Scoville units in
Yes.
their
Speaking of hot
100%
ones,
dipping cup.
I literally have a bottle of DeBomb in my house.
Oh
Me-
yeah.
It's not worth it. Trust me, anybody listening to my voice, don't do it.
Do
It's
it
not
once.
worth it.
Do it once.
It's not
if you
worth
do,
it.
tag us and let us see
You
the
might get a
reaction.
shirt.
Yeah, you might get a shirt. That's not
We'll
guaranteed.
give you something because your life is going to change.
Besides
after
a lot
take-
of pain.
yeah, that's a
Quick,
ton of pain.
quick question. How'd you guys feel about, of course, we know we have the Worlds Collide event coming up after this Saturday night's main event and a
Yes.
few PLEs with the interference of El Grande Americano once again just sticking his nose. Well, that
Headbutt
loaded,
to the back of the head,
the
too.
loaded mask and Penta and AJ Styles match, which was a phenomenal match, pun intended. That Canadian Destroyer on the outside to JD the Iron Lung McDonough really had me like, yo, this guy is the new Dolph Ziggler when it comes to selling. I'm sorry, the way
I don't
he's
know,
getting-
dude. Austin
way he's
Theory
getting-
sells better, in my opinion.
Well, if put it like this, in a level of comparison over the years, Dolph Ziggler has been the margin of where selling is judged. Almost comparable to Shawn Michaels. Now, for those that don't know, selling is the term of how someone sells the offense from another opponent. Where it's if someone doesn't and their character is perceived as invulnerable, that sell's not going to happen.
No.
But if it's believable, there's going to be a lot of back and forth selling that compels the audience to get encouraged into the match. All right, now back to it. With that being said, JD McDonough almost looks like he's injured with every major move set that ends on a sell, comparable to Dolph Ziggler. He was the guy. I would think he would get hurt every time. But nonetheless, this guy is more durable than a 97 Nissan in LA going through different owners. Okay. Like that, just imagine that. Okay. So this guy's been through the ringer plenty of times. So hats off to JD McDonough for those that can see it. Sensational right there. Seriously. Now that backstage segment with Logan Paul, I'm just gonna say this. Even though I kind of go 50-50 between him being the third man, last night did kind of get those spidey senses on the back of my neck standing
Well,
up.
we
Okay.
talked about this off the air.
Yes, we did. And honestly, what you saw last night made me kind of laugh because I brought this up to Sparky. You notice that Seth went up and talked to everybody. And actually, if you want to count, Paul went up and talked to somebody as well that has been rumored to be the next guy in the group. Paul talked to Jay and Seth talked to Logan, Gunther, and Austin all in
Yeah.
the same night.
Yeah.
Now,
They're
I'm
throwing
starting to believe
curveballs at us.
I'm starting to believe Austin Theory is a little too on the nose now. I think it's a little too easy, like you guys said last week. I'm starting to feel what you're putting down. However, I don't think it's Logan either. After that conversation of we could run it back at WrestleMania and blah, 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 like I don't see Logan Paul being the choice.
What if it was
I don't think it's going to be Yee.
How
Although
crazy would
I
that
do
be?
like this mean streak that he's been on, I think that Paul Heyman's words yesterday of Braun Breaker wanting to stunt his momentum
Oh, yeah.
meant a lot. However,
Mhm.
I think we're going to get a pseudo like mirror to what happened with the Shield. I think it's going to be Sami Zayn.
I hope not.
I think Sami Zayn at Saturday night's main event is going to put a chair to CM Punk's back.
They always turn on
Well,
CM Punk,
this
which
is
I
the thing.
enjoy.
Our modern day Mick Foley Sami Zayn, God bless his soul.
Mick was a heel at points.
Yes.
And he was a dang good one, too.
We're not even going to go into the Mankind era because that was nightmare fuel.
Mr. Sacco.
That was nightmare fuel.
Just saying.
Okay, that mandible claw, the way he did Undertaker
choke
dirty in
people
that
off.
boiler room,
Yeah.
ripping out his own hair. That was the embodiment of just sick.
Have
back
a nice
then.
day.
Oh God, stop. Don't do that. Don't do that. Come on, man. Like
I was telling him, how cool would it be if they just grabbed everybody and just made a big ass group?
You know, I would love to see that, but the WWE doesn't do factions
know.
that big anymore.
Yeah.
What about Austin Theory? I mean, I did see him backstage with the New Day.
which I'm gonna keep it real. The Atlanta boys, Xavier Woods and Austin.
That
Theory.
Jerry Curl, man, I just love.
Hey,
that.
it's like Razor Ramon
Yeah.
meets Bone Thugs or something. I don't know what he's
Him-
doing with it, but he's gotten in great shape.
Yes,
Him
he
and
has.
Kofi Kingston, they're really on a great heel run, which people forgot. The New Day started off as heels and became so popular so quickly that it went to tweener to face overnight. So I feel like they never got to finish their heel run. And this is a great conclusion of it. I wish we had some kind of payoff with Big E and all that. But hey, we're getting what we're getting. And it's kind of the only thing holding together the tag division on Raw right now, so to speak, because on SmackDown, you've got the Street Profits who are on fire and can't have a bad match. And let me just stop right there, because speaking of not ever having a bad match, hats off to Sheamus. Three sensational clicks right there. Sheamus gave Grayson Waller the business. And honestly, speaking of selling, Grayson Waller is not really my favorite, but he did a good job last night to set up this whole breakup that they've been teasing for what, a year now?
At least.
Way too long.
It's so dead with these characters. So let's just get Austin Theory off of that, maybe on the Seth Rollins faction. If not, it'll be a great piece of character building for these guys. Nonetheless, Spark, I have to agree with you on certain things when it comes to this third man theory. Before I go into
No, you're good. Go.
now, Logan Paul seems like he would fit, but never did I ever think that Gunther possibly.
That would be so awesome.
You already have a heavy. You already have a beast with Braun Breaker. This is almost like cheating. This is double stacking the card against the odds of a very reputable faction. Could you imagine Gunther, Seth Rollins, and Braun Breaker? Even though those personalities will collide over this world title picture eventually, initially, that's a thought that never crossed my mind. So,
Gunther would be my choice. Another change up would be Rusev. That would be awesome. And they're setting him up to
the
be
murderer.
like the guy that wants to get into people's head and make the best out of them and, beat the crap
make
out of them.
something.
And they look like they're kind of lost on what they're doing with him. I mean, for the next couple of weeks, they'll probably just beat the crap out of.
I'm just kind of tired of everybody coming in and just running shop through Alpha Academy.
Exactly.
Like Alpha Academy
exactly what I
just
was
seems
saying.
to be the just
job squad of the 2020s.
It's what what the other group that they came from. What is his name? I always call him Kurt
American
Angle.
Made.
Yeah, it's like now the American Maid's trying to lift up with the Creed brothers, which I would not be shocked if they pulled the titles this weekend. But I mean, the Alpha Academy has been just the test match pretty much. They beat the crap out of them, and
Otis just is good to get his
dance
and get beat up.
Otis used to be such a monster, bro.
He really did.
I loved when
another
Alpha
Olympic
Academy,
wrestler too.
Yeah, I love when Alpha Academy was just Gable and Otis shaved his beard and was just a monster, bro. Now, even though he looked like a human toe with muscles,
maybe that's what we're gonna get, though. That's kind of what the whole Rusev thing is that he wants to change you through through wrestling. So maybe that's what's gonna happen is Otis comes back as like,
oh man, with him and Braun Breaker, that would be scary stuff.
I'm just saying.
Oh my goodness.
Speaking of Braun Breaker, though, the internet is now running around with the theory that he's going to be the man to win Money in the Bank this year.
Are we getting a fast track on the Evolution storyline already?
I'm just saying. Like, I could see him or Karrion Kross winning it. What do you think?
Kross would be awesome.
Speaking of Karrion Kross, #1 merch seller right now online.
That's why I think
in the arenas.
Be him.
He's been on Main Event several weeks in a row, getting phenomenal reactions. I know Triple H is a master of the slow burn, but I think Karrion Kross is one of those guys who's organically gotten over without WWE's assistance. Triple H's guy, who he's been very, very careful on, not more so say protecting the character, but making sure he has opportunities to develop. And you're really starting to hear an outcry online on why he's not more so on main event television.
Yep.
They have him in the segments in between, Netflix, how they view, how they, broadcast here in the US is not the same everywhere else. So we're missing a lot of intros. We're missing a lot of backstage segments or questionnaire segments.
Those are the
with
best
Kathy
parts.
Kelly. Yeah.
That we're missing.
And Karrion Kross is great on the mic. He commands a presence. And in the ring, we've seen that he can go with the best of them. So he's going to get his time. And I really hope we see that soon, especially involving Money in the Bank coming up. That's all free space and opportunity right there for you to build a new star, everybody.
And honestly, I just love seeing him in the background, just pumping up his own shirt, just handing it off to people.
There you go.
It's just hilarious.
I mean, before we get into the deeper stuff, just some prayers out to Zoe Stark, man.
Oh,
that looked ugly.
Okay, but can I just say this? Not trying to throw
Poo-poo
shade.
on it. What? Go ahead.
This is the first time we've seen her in a while.
Yeah.
It was filling that match.
And does anybody else kind of feel like this is kind of because of that? Like maybe she was rusty?
Well,
because looking at the drop kick she was trying to go, it was pretty traditional. And I don't know what happened. Like her leg didn't come out from under her or something. I really don't know.
Go right ahead.
I thought I had to Google it a few times when they previewed it in the beginning. I was like, I thought they fired her.
Well,
no.
This is
get her in that whole group mixed up.
And this is where I agree with you in some aspect on this, because WWE used to do a lot of house shows throughout the year.
Right. And they're cutting back on those.
They have cut them more in half. They're only at 200 house shows, which used to provide a certain aspect of the company's revenue.
Which we say only 200. That's 200 days out of the
200
year.
days. They used to be on the road like 24/7. So they say it's great for the wrestler's body and overall long-term career. But I want you guys to think about this. With road shows cut in half, you're now looking at subsidizing where you're going to get the rest of that income from those shows from. Thus, ticket prices have gone up. Thus, merch has gone up. But we're at phenomenal, this is my word of the day, selling points as far as merch, consumables from the website, ticket sales. Everything has gone up.
It's never been higher.
It's never been higher to make up for these house shows. Now, also what we're losing is the repetition that some of these stars would get that are not on TV constantly, that we've seen, that when we've gone to house shows, we're like, oh, that guy's still around, or this person's still doing this. And it's because that's where they, start storylines, see where they can go. And because of less repetitions, maybe this is why she got injured. Maybe the mat wasn't.
It was a freak accident. Don't get me wrong. It's not like something bad happened.
There was all sorts of slipping around last night during Raw.
It might be the new color or texture or logos that are on the mat. And this might be a reason why Vince McMahon didn't ever want to put logos on the mat. There was an incident a few years ago with Adrian Neville. They call him Pac, where he did a baseball slide and the mat wasn't secured down, much like Zoe Stark's with the whole coming in.
It's like the home slide a couple weeks ago in baseball.
And it tweaked his ankle and snapped it practically. This was such a horrendous injury. If you guys want to see it, go right ahead and look for it on your own. Prayers out to Zoe Stark. She's had previous knee injuries. She's a phenomenal talent, but she's also had a history of kind of being reckless with certain moves we've seen in the Royal Rumble.
But see, this wasn't a reckless move. It was a traditional drop kick.
And that's usually how the injuries that you don't expect to happen.
Absolutely.
And hey, kudos to Rhea and Roxanne for doing their thing.
Man, they got to stop with the man and Lyra.
Yeah.
It's not going to end. It's never going to end.
She's coming off cringe at this point.
It's the only person she can wrestle. I'm going to stand by that statement. The only person that Lyra Valkyria can wrestle is Becky Lynch. That's it.
And with her interference in the match last night with Natalya, God bless Natalya.
She had a hell of a match too.
I mean, she cooked last night.
She did everything she could.
She held together the sandwich that was that burger.
The
or whatever you want to call
double
it.
sharpshooter was beautiful. I
That
thought
was
that
the
was
same
really
thing.
Sensational.
After,
I've not seen that in years.
I was happy to see Kairi Sane back. But I mean, it was bad timing because Zoe's injury. They were like, man, we got to wrap up
killed
this
all
match.
the
Oh,
momentum
yeah.
from that match.
Well, they had to really pivot on that point, and just I'm pretty sure Zoe was there to take the finish. And shout out to Kyrie Zane and just everybody that was contributing to that match, finishing
That was
up.
a rough riptide to take.
Oh,
too.
Well,
man.
With the last couple minutes left in the segment, is there any predictions you got for Saturday night's main event? I mean,
I'm gonna go with your prediction on Sami Zayn doing some type of shenanigation. Some type of shenanigation.
Sammy ends up being the third. If it's not Austin Theory, it's got to be Sami Zayn. And then, I mean, Jey Uso versus Logan. We're all, it's got to be Jey.
Then you've got R-Truth and John Cena, which is a non-title match, which we could see more shenanigans go down. So what if R-Truth wins, or we see that long extended count with a knocked referee? It's going to be some type of botch-ism. Yeah. So
now I'm expecting it just to be John against his greatest hits. It's going to be R-Truth just doing John's greatest hits against John.
So it's just going to be John in the ring with John.
Yeah,
and then watching John's clip that they showed last night where he beat up on Michael Cole.
Oh, with the barbecue sauce.
That was, God.
I want to know
television.
I want to know what that tattoo was on Michael Cole's leg.
Yeah.
That was the
Pat McAfee nailed it. That was very awkward placement.
Absolutely.
So any title changes?
No title changes, but I would also go with Damian Priest over Drew McIntyre. And I say this only because Damian Priest had a street named after him in New York, but also this is kind of like getting over in your hometown before a PLE. So he might lose. He might lose. It's a steel cage match. And, Drew McIntyre has to build some momentum on PLEs and television once again, which they've been cooking him up to do and serve nicely.
What about any returns? You see Cody coming back before or after? Or close to it?
I could see Cody Rhodes coming back to help R-Truth if John Cena really starts to like mangle and manhandle him. And let's just say we get some color with R-Truth, right? To see R-Truth bleed would really be like, oh my God, like Cena. They
would say, come out and help him.
Yeah, come on. The heartstrings, the compellingness of the storytelling would be great.
No, but that's kind of that's the point I was going to get to too. Do you guys kind of see this as John not fighting his fans, but like kind of showing his fans that I don't need any of you anymore because his biggest fan is R-Truth?
Well, honestly, John Cena's.
This is like a pseudo like John versus the fans match.
Psychologically, man, you just dropped a bomb on me right there with that one because it really is. Honestly, when you think about it, R-Truth represents those fans. He's John Cena's biggest fans.
That never turned on.
This is a smack in the face to them, and if he can get color out of Truth the hard way or scripted, I think it'll
What if this retires Truth?
Wow, I don't think he would retire. Stop.
But pseudo retire.
I can't take this. All right. It's
I'm talking about I'm talking about Liv getting all depressed. R-Truth is going to be depressed on Monday.
If you guys haven't seen R-Truth's story on these interviews with Chris Van Vliet, he's come a long way. He's actually the first NWA champion of being an African-American man that was an NWA champion.
He's an underground rapper.
He's met Pac. He's done a lot of things, and he's 54, but wrestles like he's 34.
Yeah.
In great shape, almost lost his leg a few years ago due to a really bad staph infection, and just overcame a lot in his life of personal adversity and things. And he real good person. If you ever meet him or have an interaction, awesome with the fans. But I'd never fathomed that he would retire. And if this would be the perfect time for R-Truth to have his last match with John Cena. I hate you for that, bro.
Well, I only brought up the Cody thing is because with the SmackDown coming to town here in a couple weeks, I'm seeing Cody's face on him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
And honestly, Cody is coming back here pretty soon. I think Roman comes back pretty soon too.
And I also read over the last week since we've had KG on that Roman is going to be really barely sprinkled in wrestling for the next few months.
He's been compiling a lot of movie roles. So I'm not saying having your cousin as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson helps
a little bit.
But,
let's also not forget that he goes through leukemia treatments and stuff, or leukemia treatments.
Oh yeah,
and all that type of stuff too.
Yeah.
So he's battling that.
And if you haven't watched Stephanie's Place's the episode with him. It was pretty damn good.
Him
Oh,
and
with
the entire family.
Yeah.
And
You
she's
guys
got a
check
new
that out.
show, another one coming out that they pumped up yesterday.
And that's actually, before we get out of here, that's why I believe it's Sami Zayn, because let's not forget that Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman worked together in the bloodline.
Lord have mercy on my soul.
So there's connection.
And that's the only
there.
person they haven't talked to.
Exactly.
But
Or
I
at
mean,
least
they
not
did.
in front of us.
They did in the beginning
Plus,
because
Sami
that was the
Zayn-
first one. That he
Also
talked
goes
to.
Zayn
back
running
to
out
War
last
Games.
night.
It also goes back to War Games. Sami Zayn asked Seth Rollins to join that team
Yes, he
before
did.
CM Punk.
Yep.
So this is we're
And
cooking.
honestly,
I don't like Sammy.
Sammy running out to the ring yesterday, though, to protect Jay and then just stopping at ringside waiting for Punk to get there seemed kind of weird to me.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just me as a wrestling
it
fan.
was probably
Follow the
smart.
breadcrumbs.
You don't walk in with
And
Seth.
like he's slicking his hair back a little bit more. He's cleaning up the beard again like he did when he was in the bloodline. I'm just saying.
Well, we did get one text before we wrap up. They said, "Do you think New Day loses the titles this weekend?"
Nah.
I don't see him losing it, but it's definitely going to be a hell of a three-way next week on Raw because
If anybody does it, I don't think it'll be War Raiders.
no, I think it'll be the Creed brothers more than War Raiders.
And I would be kind of on that one.
Yeah, I would love to see the Creed brothers with the title. You get some fresh faces on there. New Day has been cemented as a Hall of Fame tag team before this, so anything they do extra is just contributing to the product.
Real quick, too, I know we only got like a minute, but one last match most likely will be added to main event on Friday, I would assume, because there's only 4 on the card right now. So who do you
Yes.
think it's going to be?
Ooh, what do we have as far as possibilities over there?
Because I mean, it's got to be somebody on the female side because
So as of
every
right now,
match has been male dominated.
So far, we've got McIntyre
It's
and
McIntyre and Priest, Cena and Truth,
the
Punk
tag
and
team.
Sammy against Rollins and Braun
And Paul and Uso.
and Uso. So I'm assuming it's going to be a women's match,
Is it going to be Becky?
It'll
and
probably
Lyra?
be Becky and Lyra, and they'll run,
or maybe Zelina and Chelsea.
they'll do a rematch from Craplash, and we'll see.
That
how
was a good
went.
match.
Okay, so
That was
you
a way
Spark-
better match than I
Spark,
expected.
Spark, you was like, 3 for 3.
He's
today before that
infatuated,
one.
man. He's infatuated with the Lyra stuff.
You know,
No, hey,
I just-
honestly, Lyra's character is growing on me because they're giving her a more
I'm glad it's growing on
realistic.
somebody.
When she's wearing that skirt now.
Well,
I
there's a
don't
lot
like
of things that could grow on the human body. We didn't say any of them were
But
good for you.
the one
True.
good thing I will say is I do think Becky gets the title around the same time Seth gets the title, and she jumps
we
in
see
and she
the
jumps together.
Surprise comeback, Bailey. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Yep.
Oh God,
Hey,
Nah,
that's your
and,
girl, man. Quit fronting.
she
Quit fronting, man.
she is horrible.
I-
She is horrible. She needs to retire with our
Oh,
truth.
good lord!
But we'll
He has a poster of Bailey for
No,
motivation.
we
Right above his
appreciate it.
bed.
He's like, I
He
hate
wakes
you.
up every morning
he
to
gets
Mine's
bench
a
press
Asuka.
like,
Is it Asuka?
Asuka.
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 That's who I'm waiting.
Well,
That is
she
Asuka
had
is
a
a
very horrific knee injury that it required extensive surgery. I would hope to see her back by Money in the Bank, but
Well, we'll have plenty to talk with you next week. Plus, by then we'll only be 2 weeks away from SmackDown being here in town. So we enjoy and appreciate you coming out. We'll get back into some basketball. We'll do some previews of tonight's game right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
Told you. My last curveball, I promise. My girl, Lady Gaga. But going back into wrestling before we get into NBA, how they've entered.
Disco stick. Dang it. Dang it.
No. But Halliburton and Bronson made a was it a year ago in
It was
WWE?
yeah, so it's rumor that the WWE had the NBA script has been going around the internet. I think this is hilarious. Back in, I believe it was Royal Rumble last year, Indianapolis was the host city. And I believe it was around June of last year when they were trying to pump it up in New York. Halliburton, being the face of the Indiana Pacers, came and he was, very good friends with Pat McAfee. So he was invited to the show in New York, if I'm not mistaken, where Jalen Brunson, the star point guard for the Knicks, was sitting there.
Clutch player of the year.
Absolutely. Was sitting ringside, I guess, and caused a little bit of a stir between the two superstars where the two of them faced off in the ring and outside of it, with Brunson holding a chair next to LA Knight and Halliburton being backed by Logan Paul, because at the time I believe there was the rivalry between the two wrestlers. So everybody now is going around the internet claiming, oh Lord, here we go, the WWE has a hand in the NBA now. Let's calm down on that. I think it was just a really cool coincidence that the WWE now gets to run with. Like, it's just going to be a really cool series to watch too. So like, anything you could do to pump it up, I think is a good thing.
And another one that came out, Hans Perez, a Pacers fan who was pelted with garbage bags and all sorts of stuff thrown at him when he was at
people running up on him, telling him his jersey has to come off because he was wearing a Tyrese Halliburton
he
jersey.
wore a Halliburton jersey to Game 6 between the Knicks and Celtics and paid for it. But Halliburton had this to say on Pat McAfee's show yesterday.
Pat told me he found you yesterday, called me. I said, I got to get on the show and talk to him myself. I want to personally bring you and a +1 out here to come to Game 4 here in Indiana. I'll bring you guys out here, put you guys up, get you guys seats to the game. The Pacers, everybody in our organization wants to make sure you're taken care of. All the teams excited to meet you. It's all we've been talking about. Everybody's seen the video. So, man, we want to bring you out here. And, man, I'm really excited about that. So
you in, Hans? I believe that's on Tuesday. You're able to make the trip. I know scheduling, obviously, as a firefighter or something.
I gotta talk to the guys. I mean, I'm pretty sure we could work something out where I to come see that.
Hey, make sure that's first class.
That's awesome. Sorry, sir?
Make sure that flight's first class, Hans. This guy's max deal.
Yeah. I'm not, coach. That's okay. I'm not.
So it'll actually be Game 1, not Game 4.
It'll be Game 1 that
so he's supposed to be at the game tonight. And
tomorrow night.
Or tomorrow,
tonight, yeah. Tonight's
but they kept going back and forth, and he's also, Halliburton was introduced last night at Raw that he'll be a part of the WWE 2K5 game. So you'll be able to play with Halliburton and hopefully Brunson
at some point. I assume Jalen Brunson's going to be the next one to get put in here. I don't care for that a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Tyrese is already in 2K technically because he's all over the basketball games, but just seeing this is just another reason. I mean, last year we got the Pat McAfee pack where you got the entire Pat McAfee show as playable characters, which absolutely angered the wrestling community because they were taking spots away from wrestlers that they
didn't make it.
Yeah, should have been on the roster. Rightfully so. And I think that you're kind of doing it again. But I mean, this is the WWE just trying to incorporate other forms of media and other forms of sports into their sport. So ultimately, I think it's a good partnership between the NBA and the WWE because both organizations are growing, especially on social media, and are really two of the biggest sporting conglomerates on social media right now, if you really want to get down to the skivvy of it.
Unless you're including Antonio Brown or Tyreek Hill.
But see, that's kind of the point. It's like the NFL, anytime they're in social media, it's always the bad side. It's never somebody doing something good.
No, that was a great gesture, and hopefully they'll show him, and that was the funny part of Raw last night.
I felt so bad for him though watching that video. For those of you who haven't seen this video, Hans is a firefighter out in New York too, diehard Pacers fan since he said he was in high school or something like that back in the Reggie Miller days. He has tattoos of the Pacers logo. Like, it just made me feel bad because being pelted with trash is being nice about it. They had full trash bags throwing at this guy, people running up to him. And I don't mean like 4 or 5 people. I mean a horde of Knicks fans I don't want to say attacking because they didn't really attack the guy, but they definitely made it hard for him to walk away. He even said that he was looking around for a cop. Unfortunately for Hans, you're in New York, buddy, and they're not going to stop these fans from doing that because most of them are Knicks fans themselves and probably feel the exact same way. That's why I don't really care for Knicks fandom because much like a lot of other fandoms in sports, I won't name you, Dodgers,
Bills.
But when you guys are winning, you're insufferable.
Yes.
You're absolutely insufferable. Nobody likes you when you're winning and nobody likes you when you're losing. And that's for a reason. And honestly, like to see people like just, don't want to say attack a guy, but definitely berate a guy and almost rip his jersey off his body because it was an opposing team. That's ridiculous. I've said that on this show a couple times.
Yeah, you got to have some type of respect. I've gone to games and obviously I don't live in Florida. So when I wear my Dolphin gear, I was a little bit nervous going to a Raider game in Oakland and they were pretty much the coolest fans I've met.
Usually it's not that big of a deal, which is saying something coming from the Raiders.
But before we go into previewing the game tonight, this is what I wanted to throw out. Stephen A. I know he's a Knicks guy, but this is what he had to say with his NBA final prediction.
Ant-Man at the Garden with a championship on the line. I believe Anthony Edwards to be Jordan-esque. Not Jordan, but Jordan-esque. How he plays, the vibe and the fervor with which he brings to the game, the athleticism, the shot, leading three-point shooter in basketball. When you talk about box office, the Garden is one thing. And OKC, I'm looking forward to going out to OKC, and that fan base is going to be rabid and loud, and I get all of that. But Ant-Man at the Garden, oh, my Lord.
I usually will go right by Stephen A's clips, but I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I know you're pushing for, you said Minnesota and New York, right?
That is the matchup that I think bears the more interesting storylines. Yeah,
I would like to see the Knicks just because I like Brunson and Tibbs, but the more I'm getting of the vibe that the Pacers are getting overlooked, and we've talked about it a little bit. Where the Knicks almost feel like they blew their load already. Like their big thing was getting past Boston. And I know Tibbs is a hell of a coach, and I know his mindset is going to be at the right spot. But I'm nervous that players like Brunson and Cat and them come out flat. And as a team that is usually coming out flat in the first half, coming back from down by 20, the Pacers aren't a team that's gonna let you come back if they're up 20, 30 points.
They're not going to just shoot around and have fun up 20 like the Boston Celtics do. They're going to continue to pour it on, and they're going to beat you by 40 to 50. So I agree with you in that area that they are being vastly overlooked by a lot of people. I don't know. I have a feeling from this Knick team that isn't going to be the case. I know that there's a lot of feeling that like you said, they were really just built to beat Boston, and that was their finals. Like they don't really care about winning the championship. I don't think that's the case at all. I think they won it all. And I think that they were just prepared to go through Boston. And honestly, I think they were just the best prepared to go through Boston because I don't even think Cleveland would have played Boston that well. I think that just the matchups worked perfectly for them, and it just worked out in their favor this year when it didn't work out last year. I'm still going to ride with Minnesota and the Knicks because, one, I love the thought of Karl Anthony Towns and Julius Randle both having revenge games. What Stephen A. Smith said right there, too, Anthony Edwards in the Garden during the finals would be amazing. And to be honest with you, I'd love to see the Minnesota Timberwolves win their first championship ever in history over a team like the Knicks, whose fan base has been dying to see something.
Probably deserve it.
And that's kind of my thing, though, right? Everybody in the Final Four of this NBA Finals run deserves this championship. Every single one of you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the hard part of choosing who I think is going to win. I'm still riding with the Timberwolves, but I love the thought process of the next Michael-esque player, as Stephen A. Smith said, winning a championship in New York. Julius Randle getting his revenge on the Knicks, and just all of that kind of boiling at a head. The Timberwolves winning their first ever championship when everybody was hoping it would be back in the days of Kevin Garnett. Like, it's just a really cool story. I like it better that way.
We'll keep it right here because we'll wrap up the show previewing tonight's game, which you can hear right here on ESPN Bakersfield, with coverage beginning at 4:30, tip-off at 5 p.m. right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. Final segment of the early bird special of the day. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9 a.m. We got a couple guests for you tomorrow. We'll hopefully talk to Snacks as he makes his way back from Dallas. He was just in an NBA rep conference, I believe, or a convention from some sport.
I wonder how wild those are.
I know, really. But I just more want to see like how this all goes, how he can. For those of you who don't know, Snacks does want to work his way up as high as he can in the world of basketball refereeing. So he would like to move up to the NBA level if he can. He's obviously in the college level already. So I'd like to know what the ins and outs of actually getting to do that are. And, this is actually a position that, one, they need a lot more of, and two, pays pretty dang well. For those of you who enjoy sports and really don't know what to do with after your athletic, careers, if you know the rules of the game very well, it might be something to just throw yourself into, just saying. But we got a game to talk about for tonight. Once again, you can hear it right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 4:30 p.m. for the pregame show. But the Timberwolves and the Thunder, game one, starting at 5:30 tonight. Thunder sit at a 7.5-point favorite, as we told you in the beginning of the show. That is absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Crazy.
If you were a betting man, I'm taking that 7.5 points to the Timberwolves because I'm going to tell you right now, it is not going to be that far off.
I mean, I know OKC is still got fresh legs and
Mhm.
Minnesota's had a long rest, but
the two teams
it's
are
a conference
even.
finals, man.
They're even in the regular season. They played each other 4 times. I think this is going to be a great series going forward. And don't let the record fool you. Just because the Timberwolves are 49-33 compared to the Thunder's 68-14 does not mean skill-wise they are any worse. I think the Timberwolves match up very, very well with the Thunder right now. You're going to get Anthony Edwards against SGA, most likely Gobert taking on Chet Holmgren. You got Randall against Williams. It's going to be a very, very fun series.
I hope so.
This
And
one may go 7.
I'm going to go with OKC just because SGA has grown on me, and I'm not a big fan of Ant just because it just seems I just don't like his attitude.
We're just picking for game one, right?
But yeah,
okay.
I'm going to go OKC with game one just because of what I just mentioned is they've got fresh legs. They're young, they're quick, and Minnesota's going off a rest. I still think it'll be a long, whether it's 6-7 games, but I'm just hoping both series. I'm just hoping for entertainment series. I'm so sick and tired of watching the blowout games and then really watching the main part of the game is the last 2 minutes. So I'm hoping, that it is a competitive series.
Honestly, if you take the Thunder, I'll go with the Timberwolves because I am back and forth on this entire game one. I agree with you. This is more likely the chance for the Thunder to come out and pop them in the mouth, especially since they're the ones that had to go through the entire 7-game series against the Nuggets. So they're still a little bit hot.
That too.
So it does make more sense to me that the Thunder end up winning game one. I'm still riding with the T-Wolves though for the entire series.
And see, I'm the same way with the East. I'm kind of mixing back and forth with the Knicks
and the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like either one of them, but
they're both going to be great
Tibbs.
series, man. This is the best you could possibly ask for when it comes to the NBA playoffs. Do we got any text messages real quick though before we get out of here?
We do. The first one says, "Thank you for the tickets to Kids Fest. The kids had lots of fun."
Fantastic. Love to hear that. Hope you guys all enjoyed Kids Fest. If you guys made it out there, it's one of our better events, man. And it's a bargain. $5 to get in, $10 for the wristband for your kids. And you get to do everything for 4 hours.
And you get to go out before the heat.
Heck yeah. You got a Kona ice thing in the corner. Shoot. It's pretty nice.
Churros are bomb too. But the final text was, "If I was the GM of an NFL team, I wouldn't want any of my players playing flag football. But I know a lot of players want a chance of a gold medal."
Honestly, again, the allure of being a gold medalist, I think, is what really pulls people into this. But I kind of agree with you. The fear of a possible non-contact injury makes me believe it's a bad idea as well. That's all we got for you guys today, though. You've been listening to the Early Bird Special. Join us back here 7 to 9 a.m. And don't forget, you can check us out on social media as well. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. We're all over the place. Go like and subscribe. Here comes the great Rich Eisen. Spark, let's get out of here.